and welcome to Fox 29's News Now on this Wednesday morning. We're bringing you some local news out of West Philadelphia, where there are serious safety concerns after a massive fire at a historic church. Fox 29's Lauren Johnson filed this report. And we apologize for the technical difficulties there. We will get to the historic church fire in a bit, but for now we move to Cherry Hill, where the school district plans to serve tuna to students with outstanding lunch debt. The policy has people fired up. Fox 29's Bill Anderson filed this report.
So a national issue has now become local. A debate is raging here in Cherry Hill over how you get parents to pay outstanding lunch bills. Can you figure out a way to do it without shaming their children, which is what some people are saying is going on here right now. Now, as an overview, it's a 2017 policy that is back in the spotlight. The policy says that if a child is $10 behind on their bill, they receive what's called an alternate lunch. District here decided that that would be a tuna sandwich. The policy also says that once that bill reaches $20, the student could be denied lunch altogether. Now, the superintendent here in the district pointed out that they have not and will not ever deny children food and will always provide the alternate lunch. But the discussion came to a head when in last month's board meeting, they pretty much acknowledged that the tuna was being used as a punishment, while they also recognized that the financial issues are very real.
I think that most of us all agree that we want to continue to feed the children. I also think that we have to be financially responsible to the district.
Now, we opted for tuna fish over peanut butter because we know that our little ones would probably very happily eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches until the end of time.
Now, how real are the financial issues? Apparently, over 300 accounts are in arrears for over $14,000. So most people recognize that collecting the money is necessary, but the debate is, are you labeling the children by giving them this so-called you didn't pay your bill lunch that all of their classmates are aware of? Do you have to do that to get parents to step up and pay their bill? Here in Cherry Hill, I'm Bill Anderson, Fox 29 News.
And in political news this morning, today is the last day for 2020 Democratic presidential candidates to qualify for their party's next debate, which occurs in 2 weeks from now. Fox's Mark Meredith has the story this morning from Washington.
The last day for 2020 Democratic presidential candidates to qualify for the party's next big debate. Well, that's 2 weeks from now.
So the question is, how many people will be on the stage this time? And we still have to have 2 nights? Probably.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mike and Alex, good morning to you guys. Democrats have no shortage of candidates eager to challenge President Trump in 2020. But now the DNC is enforcing some tougher standards for those candidates that want to get into the next debate.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Democratic candidates for President of the United States.
This morning, time is running out for Democratic presidential candidates to make the cut for the third primary debate. So far, 10 candidates have qualified for the September 12th matchup, including frontrunner and former Vice President Joe Biden, as well as Senators Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and Amy Klobuchar.
I look at it this way. I've made the playoffs, all right?
But 10 other candidates appear to be stuck in the dugout, and so far have not made the cut for the debate. To qualify, the DNC says candidates need both 130,000 individual donors and a poll at 2% in at least 4 approved polls. Colorado Senator Michael Bennet recently criticized Democrats' debate standards.
The DNC process is stifling debate at a time when we need it most.
A new poll from Monmouth University shows a potential shakeup in the race, as numbers suggest support for Biden is slipping, while Senators Sanders and Warren are on the rise. But President Trump does not appear to be impressed. He tweeted Tuesday, quote, "They do stories so big on Elizabeth Pocahontas Warren's crowd sizes, adding many more people than are actually there, and yet my crowds, which are far bigger, get no coverage at all."
If more than 10 candidates do end up qualifying for the debate, the DNC plans to split the event into 2 nights. Otherwise, it appears all of the candidates who do qualify will square off on the same stage on the same night. Mike and Alex?
Mark, thank you for that. I think
Thanks,
that
Mark.
poll was, I saw it come out 2 days ago. There was another poll yesterday that had Biden up by double digits again. So,
That's probably why they base it on 4 polls then for qualifications.
And in consumer news this morning, Target wants your car seats. We'll tell you what they'll give you if you bring one in. Fox Business Network's Tracy Carrasco has more.
Or do you want to wait for this?
well, maybe we get Tracy's opinion on this.
Well, she can't see it.
Well, but she knows what a banana looks like, for God's sake. Hi, Tracy.
Hi, Tracy.
Hi.
How do you peel a banana? Do you tear off where the big stalk is on the top, is what I say, and peel it down?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm minding.
That's the top to me with the little
me
stem
too.
part.
Well, I'm minding my business. I was just having a lovely banana during commercial break, and our
You do
floor
it the
director.
other way.
No, our floor director Keith says, you know, you're doing that wrong. I'm like, what do you mean? You peeled it the wrong way. He does it from the short end. He peels it from this end. Who does that?
No.
I don't know anyone on earth who does that except Keith. That's why he's unique.
I've never seen that.
But he says, because when I peeled off the top, some of the banana I pulled off in the stalk part. So he says that it'll avoid those situations from happening.
Oh, so he wants every little fiber of the banana.
I guess so. Get more for your money. So if anybody opens bananas like Keith, let us know, because we think he's a Lone Ranger over here.
Yeah.
It's the little things that fascinate us, Tracy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
All
going
right,
to
Tracy.
ask around. I'm very curious now.
Let's get into this Target thing, because this is kind of a neat offer. What is the offer from Target stores?
Yes, Target is doing a car seat trade-in program. So you can bring in your old, damaged, beat-up car seat, and they will give you a 20% off coupon for a new one, or you could put it towards some other baby gear, a stroller, and they're going to be taking those old car seats and recycling them. They've done this since April of 2016. In the years that they've been doing this, they've collected about 500,000 car seats. They've recycled some 11.9 million pounds of waste. And they're doing this because they want to be more environmentally responsible and more sustainable. So this is going on from September 3rd through the 13th. You have until then to take your old car seat to the guest services area of Target. They'll take care of it, and you get your coupon.
I didn't realize I've been doing this for 3 years. So it's only a 10-day period, like she said. So, I hope you heard that part of the report. September 3rd through the 13th.
Yep.
Great job. Thank you, Tracy. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, Tracy.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Moving on to your Fox 29 Weather Authority this morning. Precipitation is returning to our forecast today with scattered thunderstorms expected in the Philadelphia area. The day won't be an entire washout, however. Showers and storms are anticipated, though. Temperatures will reach a high of around 80 degrees, so pretty mild. And thankfully, the region is expected to dry out for the holiday weekend, with temperatures fluctuating between the mid and upper 80s. Here we have a look at current temperatures in our area. A pretty mild 63 degrees up in the Poconos, 71 degrees over in Lancaster, 76 degrees here in the city of Philadelphia, and surprisingly cool down the shore, 72 degrees in Atlantic City and 73 in Wildwood. And looking ahead to our 7-day forecast, again, it's a pretty gloomy day this Wednesday with clouds and showers. Hopefully we'll be out of our system before the Phillies game tonight. And the region will dry out for this holiday weekend with a mix of clouds and sunshine and temperatures in the mid-80s. And more in local news this morning. A man is dead after a shooting in the city's Mantua section. It happened just before 11 last night on the 3900 block of Reno Street. Police say someone shot a 21-year-old man twice in the back of the head. They are interviewing witnesses and believe the shooter may be a young man in his late teens. And in Newcastle County, police are searching for a missing man. 44-year-old David Sweeney from Wilmington left his home yesterday afternoon and hasn't returned. If you see him or know where he may be, you are urged to contact police. Also in Burlington County, a man is accused of killing a man he knew and then burying his body in a forest. 55-year-old Charles McGee from Pemberton Township is facing multiple charges, including first-degree murder in the death of 48-year-old William Klein Jr. Klein's body was found on Saturday in the Brendan T. Burns State Forest in the Pine Barrens. He had been missing for 4 days. Investigators say Klein was shot before his body was dumped in the Pine Barrens. A motive for the killing has not yet been released. Also happening now, police are searching for a man who they say stole a church donation box from a Holmesburg chapel. It was Sunday afternoon around 4 when police say this man walked into the Adoration Chapel at St. Dominic's Church on the 8500 block of Frankfurt Ave. He's seen scoping out the place, then rips the metal pour box off the wall. He hid the box under his jacket and calmly left the chapel. Father Edward Kern says it's not too late for the thief to return the donations.
He certainly can be forgiven. He can start over just like everybody else.
But he's got to do the right thing in the meantime.
He's got to do the right thing.
Police say they're checking past videos of church thefts to see if this guy's made a habit of it. In the meantime, church officials say they just emptied the box, so it likely only had a few dollars in it. However, replacing the box will likely cost a few $100s. Police are also looking for the thieves who stole $30,000 worth of electronics from Germantown Friends Select School. Police say these two suspects broke into the school earlier this month and took 16 Mac Mini computers, televisions, desktop computers, and an iPad. If you have any information, police want to hear from you. And in Lehigh County, the city of Allentown has filed a federal lawsuit against pharmaceutical companies they say are connected to the opioid crisis. The city is looking to be compensated for what they call the financial burden the crisis has had on the city. They say deceptive marketing is one of the factors that contributed to the crisis. Purdue Pharma and Teva Pharmaceuticals are among the 20 companies named in the lawsuit. Yesterday, we reported Johnson & Johnson was ordered to pay more than $570 million to the state of Oklahoma in a similar suit. And it's the end of the road for the Trolley Car Diner. The owner announced it will close on October 15th due to declining sales. The diner has been around for more than 20 years. The owner says all staff who stay until the end will receive severance pay based on their current wages and a bonus based on how long they've worked there. And they will try to find them new jobs. Fox 29's Good Day visited the diner in Mount Airy this morning.
Trolley Car Diner, one of the Trolley Car Diners, is closing for good.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of people know it. It's been for 20 years. It's popular. They love it. So they're kind of sad to see it. You want to get that one last meal, right?
Yes. Okay. Thomas is inside now. Thomas?
Cool. Yeah, almost 19 years. It is sad. You know, you see the flow of people coming in and out here. You see a lot of regulars like the Taylors here. Good morning to you. You guys have been coming here for about 12 years. And you got news this week?
Very sad.
Very sad. We've been hearing that all morning long from the customers in and out. They're extremely sad. I want to talk to the owner here, Ken Weinstein. I know it's been a difficult week for you. Monday, you gathered all the troops and you told them.
Yes.
What'd you tell them?
Well, it's been a sad week. A lot of our staff have been with us 5, 10, even 19 years. And so it was hard to tell them that we were going to need to close up on October 15th.
I'm sure they had a lot of questions. Why?
Yeah.
Why are you shutting down?
Yeah, just a lot of competition. The Mount Airy community was very different 19 years ago. There was not a lot of family-friendly dining. There was a lot of blight on the avenue. And now that's all changed. And customer base is now split among a lot of restaurants, which is a good thing.
So the past couple of years, you saw sales kind of go down here. I talked with a couple of your workers this morning. You even see the board here. This place really is like family.
Yeah,
I mean, 55 workers. The big question, what's going to happen with them?
Yeah, we're going to do everything we can to help them. We are putting together a bonus and severance pay pool to help them 2 months from now when they're off work. We are going to hold workshops for resume writing and interview skills. We're just going to do whatever it takes to make sure people get full employment when they leave here.
And October 15th, the final day, if you can, give me a quick tour of this place, because right now we're in the old boxcar, right?
Yes.
This came from?
This is the original diner, 1952 Mountain View from Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania.
And look how big this place is real quick. If you can, Tom, come back here, because not only do you have the old boxcar, but then you have a whole nother seating area here. We mentioned quite the history. What's going to happen with the building?
Yeah, we're not sure yet. Right now we're keeping all of our options open, but we're just focusing on winding down and making sure our employees are taken care of.
Anything that can save this place, Ken?
No, unfortunately. It's run its course. It's been a great 19 years. We're very proud of what we've been able to do here, and everything good comes to a close eventually.
And they can probably see some familiar faces over at your other restaurant?
Yeah. We still have Trolley Car Cafe in East Falls and running strong, and hope that some of our customers end up over there.
All right, Ken, all the best to you.
Thank
October
you very much.
15th, get your final. I joked about this earlier, the turkey Reuben, which is amazing here. A little bit of history coming to an end here.
Yeah.
Like Alex.
You know, thank you, Thomas. That space, I've been told, was a hamburger joint called Gino's way back in the day. And it was a Roy Rogers, that space they were in.
Really?
And then they brought the trolley in, 20 years ago?
I wonder if someone else is going to move in, or if it's just going to be done.
I would think, yeah, that'll be another eatery. Maybe we should open a place, called it Good Day.
Also on Good Day this morning, we have a warning for parents regarding blue light. Smartphones are making us lazy, and that even affects our eyes. We discuss how your kids could be at risk and the tools doctors are using to correct the issue.
Smartphones, iPads, other devices, they've become an integral part of the lives of adults, but also children. I mean, they start them when they're young, right? You're on YouTube Kids and doing all that.
Yeah.
So how does it affect them as they grow up?
Yeah, well, it's undoubtedly affecting our eyesight. So one of our producers, great producer, Tracy Schmid, told us about the situation in her family and her daughter, Elizabeth. Welcome. Dr. Sheba is also here. You've been going to Dr. Sheba?
Since she was 7 years old.
7 years old. That was the first pair of glasses at 7, right, Elizabeth?
Yes.
Okay. How bad was it at 7?
It wasn't too bad. It was like slight. It was enough to where she failed the school eye exam, but it was very slight, and she only needed them for like movies or watching TV. But most of the time, she didn't wear them.
Okay, then it got progressively
Every year.
worse, doctor?
Progressively worse every year.
After year after year. How old are you now?
13.
Do you, in one of her eyes, it's pretty bad. I mean, 20/20 is the optimum, right?
Correct.
And with glasses, she is 20/20.
20/20.
But she's 2300 in one of her eyes.
Yes, without correction.
So
So do you think it's all because of tablets and screens?
Not, I wouldn't say 100%. Part of it is genetic. Part of it is the fact that she's growing. But research does show that people less than 40 years old have greater percentage of becoming nearsighted because of increased use of near work.
And so it's because of the way we hold the phone, as we're showing people holding the phone in the video, that's affecting our eyesight.
Well, the closer you hold a phone or any tablet or any book to you, the more the eye has to work.
Okay, let's widen out a little bit. I'm going to give you my phone. Now, how should I be using that phone?
Well, most kids tend to use it up here.
Right.
This is a good, easier distance for the eye.
So it's down basically at your
Yes.
knees or your lap.
Yes, that's easier for the eyes.
Elizabeth, do you have your iPad with you or your phone with you?
No, I don't.
But you've been using a phone for years, right?
Yes, since I was probably 10.
And where do you hold it normally when you're texting?
Hand the phone to her. See, now just naturally, how would you look at that phone?
Well, just recently, ever since I went to the doctor recently, I've been holding it down here. But like before that, I held it like up here,
Sure.
like here, and I tried not
Mom
to.
knows.
I tried not to do that, but like it's like instinctive at this point.
Well, sure
I
it
think
is.
a lot of people hold. It's not just you. I mean, we hold the phone.
There's an obvious reason for it. The screen is small. So the closer to your eyeballs, the better you can see what you're looking at. So I guess you could talk to the manufacturer and somehow get this a cover or something, some block of, what is it, the blue light that's affecting the eyeballs?
Blue light is certainly a problem. We know that that blue light, extended exposure to blue light causes eyes to get tired, the prescription to get worse.
But it's
headaches,
affecting
blurred
younger
vision.
eyeballs.
Yes, because younger eyeballs, people that are young have bigger pupils and their lenses are not quite, they don't have the filters that we adults have.
So what was the solution with this pair of glasses? These are blue light glasses? What does that mean?
We have a blue light blocker on the lens to help filter out, neutralize the blue light that comes off backlit screens. So that way she can see the, look at the handheld device without having all that blue light going into her eyes.
Can Elizabeth and Oscar, have you noticed a difference? Do screens look different with the blue light blockers?
Yes, like a few weeks ago, if I held it down here with my regular glasses, then I would probably not be able to read it that well. But now with these, that I can see every word of it, I can see everything.
So I guess people should be getting blue light glasses.
Well, it would definitely help so that you have less eye fatigue, less strain, less headaches.
Okay.
Yeah, but she's seeing blue light's not going to help you see better.
Right.
It's just going to help you function better.
But it might slow down the deterioration of her eyes?
Yes,
sight?
definitely.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, you better look into blue light glasses.
No,
My goodness.
do you have to go to your doctor? Someone tweeted me saying, "Oh, I saw some on Amazon. Can I just buy glasses of Amazon if I'm just looking for to be able to function better?"
I would say you should go to your eye doctor and get your refractive error corrected first.
Okay.
Because
Yes.
if you have a refractive error and you're wearing just plain blue light, that's not going to help 100%. You should
Yeah.
have the refractive error corrected. So if you're nearsighted or farsighted, that should be corrected.
Don't be like me and get your glasses at Walgreens, okay?
7-Eleven,
Thank you,
CVS.
Tracy, for bringing this to our attention.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
you. Thank you, doctor.
And we are going to bring you over now to Ohio, where that state's governor is delivering a press conference regarding guns in the wake of a mass shooting there. Stay with us.
and then follow up by the courts on final disposition from these cases as we get through the system, whether someone has been found guilty, things of that nature. All of that has to be in that system. It's all wheels or spokes in this wheel. And warrant entries, as the governor indicated, into the NCIC system for our most serious offenders and violent crimes that you see over here. As we move forward in the process, we certainly need to evaluate the technology that is available to us to streamline the process and to improve data collection where we can. Law enforcement, the courts, and our mental health partners must do all that we can do to ensure that accurate data is entered into this system in a timely manner. The data is the backbone of the NICS checks that are completed every day. And good data promotes an effective system, and an effective system can save lives. And from the local government standpoint, as I am, I agree with the governor that the state of Ohio needs to step up and find funding to get this system in place. It'll be vital that any solution includes funding to develop, implement, and more importantly, maintain the system as we move forward. So on behalf of Ohio's 88 sheriffs, we certainly look forward to working with the governor in making this system more efficient and more effective.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Yes, sir.
Chief?
Thanks, Governor. Lieutenant Governor, thank you. On behalf of the Ohio Association of Chiefs of Police, I'm here to make some remarks. I'll keep them brief. Connecting agencies to each other with timely information that would potentially stop someone who cannot legally purchase or possess a firearm will keep our communities safer. The e-warrant system can have real results when information is shared appropriately and when access to that information is more seamless. Ohioans deserve to have a better system in place that creates another layer of accountability. Ohio will hold those committing reckless acts accountable. The e-warrant system is needed to provide agencies of all sizes an additional tool to improve safety in every part of our state. This step forward advances the strong calling for better communication, better practices, and better acknowledgement that we won't accept failures and we will stand up for those who need us the most. By enacting this system, we'll be taking an excellent step in the right direction of avoiding future tragedies. Thank you.
Chief, thank you. Appreciate it very much. Finally, I'm happy to have Eric Delbert with us today. He is the co-owner of LEPD Firearms Range and Training Facilities here in Columbus. Delbert.
Thanks, Governor. Good morning, everyone. When we started LEPD Firearms Range and Training Facility almost 7 years ago, it didn't take long for us to recognize that there were some inefficiencies in the NICS background check system. Matter of fact, we saw it almost immediately. You see, when we submit a transaction into the NICS database, almost 93% of the time, we would receive an instant response, as you would expect. A response of either proceed with the transaction or that transaction was denied. About 7% of the time, though, we would receive a response of delay. And that basically meant that something in that transaction popped up within the NICS system, and the system needed a little more time to determine if that person was legally able to possess a firearm. The problem comes in, though, in that oftentimes, after 3 days that go by, we never hear anything additional from the NICS system. And by law, stores can sell firearms at that point to that individual. Almost 20,000 times nationwide in the last 5 years, a firearm was sold to an individual, and at some point in time, a week later, a month later, or some point even further down the road, the system came back to that store and said that should have been a denial. 20,000 times in 5 years, the system allowed an individual to purchase a firearm because there wasn't enough information in the NICS database to make that a denial at the time. And they couldn't come to that conclusion in the 3 days. A few years ago in our store, we had an individual come in to purchase a firearm like they do every day, and we submitted the data to NICS, and it came back delay. Very common. Later on in that day, as we were awaiting a response from the system, the wife of that individual came in to us, to alert us to the fact that this individual was actually prohibited from owning a firearm due to a civil protection order. She had the papers with her and gave it to our associates. Later that day, the NICS system returned a proceed for that individual. If she hadn't come into our store and to other stores probably around town, we would have sold that firearm to that individual who was a prohibited user at that time. LAPD and the industry has been calling for changes to the NICS background system for a long time. There's a lot of positive attributes to the system that we need to build upon, but simply speaking, we just need to make it more efficient on putting the information in there and make the information in there more accurate. The last thing we want to do is sell a firearm to an individual who is prohibited from owning a firearm and see that individual go out there and cause harm to fellow citizens and to fellow law enforcement. What's being proposed today by the governor and the lieutenant governor will have measurable effect on keeping firearms out of the hands of criminals and the mentally ill in Ohio. Thank you.
Happy to take any questions for any of the
Governor,
speakers.
how many of the open warrants for violent crimes found on the Tier 1 list are among the missing warrants not in the system? Are your task force aware or able to determine that?
I don't think we have those numbers.
I don't think so, do we?
No, we weren't able to discern the type of warrants that were missing.
So of the 500,000 warrants, open warrants, we don't know how many of those are Tier 1 at all.
Right. That's correct. That's correct. And you know, certainly you have bench warrants, you have warrants from courts that are failure to show up. That might be a traffic offense. It could be something more serious. So no, there was no breakdown. But I think the most stunning figure is how many. Just a small fraction of those half a million are in the national database at 18,000 or so. I mean, that's just, to me, is a stunning number, 9% roughly. So.
Governor, do you know of any other states that are doing this, or is Ohio taking the lead on this?
Well, Ohio, I really can't tell you that. Ohio is, to some extent, in a unique position because we are such a local government state. And we have, over 1,000 law enforcement agencies in the state. We have 88 court systems, 88 counties. We have many municipal courts. We have many common pleas courts. So, with 1,400 entry points, that really has been the challenge. And I'll be quite candid. This is something that when I was lieutenant governor in 1991 started. We were focusing on because we saw that so many times you run someone and you get an initial charge, but you don't get a final disposition. It's improved since then. We made some progress then. We've made some progress when I was Attorney General. But I'm now in a position as governor to do a lot more. And what basically I have decided is that we need to really invest the money to make sure that we have a system that is usable. First of all, that's actually a statewide system. Number two, that it's usable and easy to use by the people who are using it out in the field. And three, the state needs to pay for it.
Is there a dollar amount attached to that?
I don't think we know the dollar amount yet, but let me just say that the essential function of government is to protect people. And so we're going to do this, frankly, no matter what the cost is. We have to do this. We've got to get this right. We cannot be in a position where someone who has an outstanding warrant for a serious crime can leave the county and no longer be subject to someone finding out that they have the serious crime. We can't be in a situation where we only have a small fraction of our outstanding warrants in the state of Ohio that if a person leaves Ohio, no one's going to know it. That's just a ridiculous situation. So, this relates to public safety in general. It also, the reason we're making it and grouping it as part of our whole package in regard to the Dayton shooting, the aftermath of the Dayton shooting is this directly impacts on the accuracy of the background checks that are run. when someone goes in to buy a firearm. So it is directly on point in regard to that. But it should have, it's past time to do this. And as governor, I have an obligation to get this done, and we intend to get it done.
Governor, the San Jose Mercury News just...
I'm sorry, I missed the first part.
The San Jose Mercury News just put out a report that looked at 75 cases of shootings over the last 3 years and found that most of those shooters telegraphed their intentions on social media. All of them bought guns legally, despite background check. How people are going to look at your list and say, most people who have those crimes don't buy them legally. They buy them through straw purchases, or they buy them through friends.
Let me go.
How would your background
Let me go back to what I said from this podium 2 days after the shooting. We are proposing a number of different things. We cannot say that we will never have, if all of these are enacted, that we will never have tragedies in the future. But what we can say is that each one will help. Each one will make Ohioans safer. And so I think that we should not look at each one of these individually or separately. I think we and look at it and say, well, that wouldn't have protected us here, or that wouldn't have stopped this. We have to take a holistic approach. Each one of these things that we have talked about has been thought out. Each one of these we're going to be working with our friends in the Second Amendment to make sure we get them right and we protect people's constitutional rights, and we're going to be working with the state legislature. But it is a package. It's a package that it's important that each component part be passed, but you could take each individual part of that and say, well, that won't protect us in this particular instance. And I might say, yeah, you might be right, John.
Governor, could I add it? Actually, we just provided you an example in Texas where it would have. And
most of the mass shootings were...
I'm just sharing with you that from a data point of view, that's an example of one that actually would have, and those 26 lives might have been saved.
And your point, you're talking about giving signs out early on. You remember, at our last press conference, we talked about an enhanced role, public safety, that we have put a group together that's going to be monitoring the internet in the sense of if keywords come up, the software will allow us to pull that up and look at the context of it. You're absolutely right. There are warning signs almost every single time when you have these mass shootings. Let me say something else. Our goal, though, is not just to stop the mass shootings. We mourn the people who were killed in Dayton, and we will continue to mourn them. We also need, though, to mourn those people who are killed in Ohio every single week by people who are legally prohibited from having a gun. And so we're going after them in several different ways. One of the ways we talked about last time was to enhance the penalty for people who are convicted in the state of Ohio of violent offenses, who cannot legally have a gun, who do have a gun. I met last night with over 60 county prosecuting attorneys. This is one of the things that they want. One of the things that they want to have as a tool so they can go after the repeat violent offenders who insist on continuing to have guns in their possession. So all of this is a package. All of this is cumulative. We have to do all of these things if we're going to protect the people of the state of Ohio.
Governor, what do you think of
Giamatti.
We had yet another incident in Dayton this week where a person who apparently had mental health problems stole a police cruiser who had sped away, then got into a crash in downtown Dayton, killed 2 6-year-old children. On the mental health side of this, how far have we gone since your introduction of your 17-point plan? Did any of those give us an update on any of those bills been introduced?
Well, again, Jim, there's no magic that this is going to, these problems are going to be solved, but we started with the budget when we put a lot of money, over $675 million, to be used for wraparound services to try to identify, at least in part, to try to identify young people who are having problems, mental health problems, try to get them the help that they need early on. We are trying to free up more space, and will free up more space in our psychiatric hospitals. But we also need to provide additional alternatives for families who have someone who has a very serious mental health problem and who may not be acting out criminally, but has that serious mental health problem. And so we need to be doing more in that area as well.
Governor, what do you think about the draft legislation to put local opioid lawsuits under the control of the state attorney general?
I think it's very important that in any of the settlements that occur or any of the verdicts that occur, that this money be dedicated to dealing with not just the opiate problem, but the drug problem that we have, the addiction problems that we have. So I think all the money that will come in needs to go for treatment, it needs to go for prevention, it needs to go to local law enforcement. Those three component parts. So I think that's, first of all, that's very, very important. I think the idea of that legislation, I think that would be a serious mistake. If you look at how our services are delivered in Ohio, and if you look at who has borne a great deal of the cost, what you will find is that local government has borne a great deal of that cost. This is something that we should allow to proceed in the court system. I filed, as you remember, when I was Attorney General. I filed against a number of the manufacturers. I filed against a number of the middlemen. Other local jurisdictions have made a decision to file as well. They have every right to file. And so those cases need to continue to proceed. Certainly there's going to be, if you're going to have a settlement, you have to have a universal settlement, or the companies aren't going to settle. So I understand what the Attorney General was trying to do with this proposed legislation, but I think it would be a very serious mistake. I think it would be unfair to our local government partners who have borne such a very, very heavy part of this burden. I would say, finally, that as far as the money that the state will get, we hope in the future, through the lawsuits that I filed, the great amount of that money will eventually then go down from the state at the local level as well. Through our local AMS boards and the delivery of services. We are a local government state. Our services are delivered locally. So whether the cities get the money directly or whether it comes through the state, what we get is going to be shared certainly anyway with the local jurisdiction. But I just think it would be a mistake for the General Assembly to pass a law like that, and I think would be a very serious mistake.
Governor,
how do you plan on getting the politics of these gun restrictions not very popular with the General Assembly? How do you plan on building a coalition of supporters and convincing?
Well, I'm working on that, and John is working on that every day. We fully understand concerns that have been expressed. We want to make sure that anything that we propose to the General Assembly has a chance of getting passed, but it's also very important for it to be constitutional. It's important for it to respect the Second Amendment rights. We've been working very closely with our friends in the Second Amendment community, and it continues to be a work in progress. I think you're beginning to see, though, a good, broad cross-section of people in the state of Ohio who support our package. Some people don't think it goes far enough. Some people may have other opinions. But if you look at the mayors, for example, mayors who deal with these problems every day, we're getting more and more support from them. Had the opportunity to talk to the mayor of Cincinnati, the mayor of Columbus at the soccer match this weekend, and they both support our proposal and our plan. John?
Can I add that that's why what we're doing today, I believe, is incredibly important, because I'm in regular conversations with leaders from the NRA and from Buckeye Firearms and the Ohio Gun Collectors Association, and one of the common refrains from all of them is fix our existing system. We have a lot of laws in the books that we're not properly implementing, and it's very important to building that coalition that you can prove to people that you actually are doing a good job with the laws that are currently on the books. Today's announcement is a critical step to proving our commitment to doing that, which I think builds support and trust among the different voices that are out there across the state advocating on these issues.
And let me just add, we're going to continue to be transparent. What we're doing is what we're doing, and what we say we're doing is what we're going to do. And as we work on language, we know what our objective is. We're sharing that with folks to give them a chance to take a look at this. So look, this is a process. We understand the history. We understand what we refer to as personal protection orders that did not go anywhere last time. But our point is that this is different. It is different for what we are proposing. We are dedicated to making sure the constitutional rights are protected. We are dedicated to making sure the Second Amendment is protected, and there is due process at absolutely every stage in regard to the personal protection orders.
Is there a timetable on when you plan to make these actually formally introduce these proposals?
Well, it's a work in progress. I don't know that I want to put a time limit on it. We're working on this every single day, and work in progress. I'm not going to put a time on it.
As someone who sells guns, I'm wondering, when you get that delay from NICS or FBI, ATF, whatever, how much of that is your sixth sense, the size of someone and say, I'm not going to sell them a gun, versus I got a delay, now I have to sell you a gun by law? How much of that do you rely on, and what needs to be done to change that?
I think in our business, there's always that sixth sense. We are not mandated that we have to sell the firearm. It's much like the bartender. You don't have to serve that drink. And our employees know that if you don't feel right about that transaction, you don't go through with it. So the delay is just simply another tool that alerts us that maybe there's something there. But the problem that we see, and I'm sure you see it as well, is that there is customers that come into our store every day, good customers. They're doctors, lawyers, FBI agents who get delayed every time, and they know at the end of 3 days, we're not going to hear anything back, and they're going to come in and get their firearm. It happens too often to people that are good people that happen to be in a database somewhere, and they can't get out of it. I'm sure you see that as well.
Well, and Mr. Delbert and I are among the responsible gun store owners that the governor referred to. So we go out of our way to follow, of course, all laws. We would go above and beyond that if we, when we can, if there's any need to do that. But we just want to make sure that the data is good data. So I'm encouraged that the administration wants to, start with that, because if the data isn't good, the background check isn't good. So we just really are encouraged by that.
What is your name?
Wendy Monroe.
Do you think there should be background checks for people that are selling guns, at these gun shows, which are currently not required?
I think today what we really wanted to focus on is the data and fixing the data, so we're not just running around trying to put out a bunch of fires. So we're starting with that, and we'll see where it goes. I'm encouraged that the administration is talking with stakeholders, Buckeye Firearms, other stakeholders, people like us that deal with this every day. So I'm encouraged that they are listening and doing their research. It's been eye-opening what they have found out so far, so we're encouraged by that.
Who else?
Governor, I've heard from folks like Eric for years now that there are problems with the background check system, and so this doesn't seem to be new. Mass shootings, unfortunately, in this country are not new. What was it about this moment that is leading to this change? Why not Why has it not been tackled before this?
You're talking about our criminal record system, particularly?
Yeah, fixing the background checks. Like
Look, we have been, I can't tell you how many times I've talked with Tom Stickrath and said, look, we need to, we need to fix it. What is different here is that when I was Lieutenant Governor, when I was Attorney General, there were certain things we could do. And for example, we would get on the phone in the AG's office and literally call a county if nothing was coming in. If you didn't see something coming in for a week, we'd call them, hey, what's going on? Why don't you send it in? But if you really, if we really want to do this, we've just got to do it sort of from the ground up. And so as governor, I can do more. And as governor, I'm making the commitment. We're going to fix this system. To fix it, we've got to make it easy for the people who put the data in. That's just the way it is. And the state of Ohio has to pay for it. So my commitment is it's going to be easy. I've charged John Houston and Innovate Ohio with getting this done. This is when John and I talked early on, even before he got on the ticket, before we came together, this was something that I gave him as an example. He talked about innovation in state government. I said, let me give you an example of where we really need that. So this goes way, way back, and this project is made for Innovate Ohio. What we have found is that we can make incremental changes in the system. We can improve it. We can patch it. We can plug the hole here. But what we really need to do is just to have a complete overhaul of the system and accomplish those things. And the state has to do it. Look, these are local units of government, whether it's over 1,000 law enforcement agencies, whether it's the hundreds and hundreds of courts. But ultimately, the buck stops with the state. The state needs to provide a uniform system, and the state needs to make it easy, and the state needs to pay for it.
What's the state going to do? What's this?
Okay. The system, is it something that you can get started before lawmakers' approval or something you need to wait for their approval? And then what's the process for getting off the system if you're not committed of the event?
Well, as you know, anytime you're doing a big data project, there are a lot of different pieces to it. We will start immediately, but it works tandem. You can build the technology solution, which we will, but then you have to train people to use the technology, and then we need the legislature to make it mandatory, because if you build a great system and still make it optional, it's not going to be a very functional or useful system. And so all of this has to fit together, the technology piece, the buy-in and training piece from our friends at the local level, and then the legislative piece to mandate it. So they all have to come together for it to work. That's why it's. I wouldn't want to put a time frame on it, but we will begin immediately on the technology piece while we wait for the other, while we build this process with the other partners.
Somebody in the back end.
Governor and Lieutenant Governor, you just kind of touched on this. So these are new information that you're requiring to be put into the system. How do you make sure that local officials actually put this into the system? Because that's been the struggle for the past couple of years too.
I think exactly what we've said, though. I mean, look, these are not bad people. They're not holding back information to mess up the system, but they're holding it back because it's cumbersome to put it in. It's difficult, and kind of life gets in the way sometimes of doing what you should do. So we got to make it easy for them. We've got to make it so they can do it. But as John said, we also have to make it mandatory. And just to take the warrant side of this, I just think most Ohioans would be shocked if they knew that there could be an outstanding warrant for someone's arrest, and that person could go across the county line and no longer really, any law enforcement agency who ran the guy wouldn't know that they had that outstanding warrant. So these are things that we can do, things that we should do. John?
Yeah, I would just add, really it's trying to take a two-step process and turn it into a one-step process. And technology should allow that to happen. But, this is not going to be something where I've learned we're not going to say, here's how you do it. We're going to have to work with our local partners to design a system that helps make their lives easier and solves the problem. And so it'll be integrating those two processes, working with our friends in the courts. We already talked with, by the way, I should have commended Chief Justice Maureen O'Connor for sitting down with us and receiving her encouragement to do this, to work with the court system. We've talked with the sheriffs and the police chiefs, so it's going to be all of us working together to design the system to make it easier for people to do it. But I think basically the simplicity of it is you take a two-step process, turn it into one, and make it more efficient for everyone.
And as John said, we're very grateful for the chief's involvement in this. John met with the chief not too long ago. I met with the chief a few months ago. She's all in, and we appreciate her help very, very much. It's essential.
Lieutenant Governor.
This is the last question to you both. Dayton, previous mass shootings in Ohio, like Chardon and Cincinnati, did not prove to be a tipping point. How do you think shooting Dayton will be a tipping point for substantial changes in how Ohio addresses gun policy? Why now?
Why now? For me, I'm governor today. I have an obligation to do this. This is something I want to do. We're focused on this, and it's the right thing to do. These are all things that I believe we can do. Look, you run for governor because you want to be able to make things happen. You want to be able to change things. I do this in conjunction with working with the state legislature. Just because I want it doesn't mean it's going to happen. But this is an opportunity, I think, for us to do things that should be done. And I'm doing everything I can, and this administration is doing everything it can to make sure that happens.
I just want to add one thing to that, is that one of the things that has been I think a hallmark of Governor DeWine's governorship and our administration, which is going on right now, is that we bring everybody into the room. There's the people that would be in favor of more aggressive measures as it relates to guns, and people who would not be in favor. We're bringing them into the room. We're listening to them. We're hearing what their concerns are. We're addressing those concerns, and we're trying to build a solution that serves that provides the solution that everybody is seeking. And we're interested in, as the governor outlined, it's constitutional. It can pass the legislature, and it will matter. And everything that we do is focused on that. I think that the governor has, what he's done in his first 8 months as governor, he's brought people into the room, local government and others. We're taking the same approach with this. And because there is a level of trust that's being built between all of the voices in this conversation, I think we have a better chance than we've had in the past.
Real quickly, Lieutenant Governor, you said this is an important foundation for anything that comes beyond this. What can come beyond this?
Today we're talking about this. My point being is what we often hear is that, why don't you fix the system that we have now before you talk about other things? Very valid concern, I think, that are often expressed by our friends who are gun rights advocates, and we are stepping up to answer their challenge of fixing the existing system.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
And we are going to close out News Now today with a follow-up on yesterday's massive fire in West Philadelphia at an historic church. There are serious safety concerns following that 2-alarm fire, with a possibility that the building could collapse. Fox 29's Lauren Johnson filed this report.
Hey, good morning. Pastor Benjamin Peterson showed up here at the church just a few minutes ago, coffee cup in hand. I asked how he was feeling this morning. He looked up at the charred church and said, devastated but thankful. This is the sight that he sees this morning after the sun rises here, and we still don't know how or why this fire started, but we know the emergency not over just yet. The threat of collapse keeps firefighters here waiting and watching, and the community watching in horror as well, completely devastated by the reality of what happened here yesterday just before 3 p.m. It's not just a loss for the hundreds of church members who call Greater Bible Way Temple home, but for the larger community as a whole, always welcome to come here, including the many people who lived in an attached rooming house. 100 firefighters were working here yesterday, hard and fast, really as hard and fast as they could outside this building to do everything they could to salvage this very historic landmark in the heart of West Philadelphia.
I'm broken but not destroyed. I'm very devastated, but we thank God no lives were lost, and we have great history on this corner. We've been here on this corner for 36 years. I've been pastor for 25 years. My mother and father are the founders of the church 61 years ago, and we have a lot of history here. My children, our members' children, the neighborhood children, young people, funerals, weddings, christenings, and I declare we will rebuild.
Now, Councilwoman Blackwell was here on scene yesterday. She says she understands from talking to the pastor the church was working hard to secure funding for senior citizen housing here, and maybe the delay was for the best, all things considered, as to what happened yesterday. I did speak to a man off camera here who's been living here for 6 or 7 years. He says he's just sitting here thinking because he can't imagine what to do next, knowing everything he owns is inside that charred building.
And that is going to do it for us today at Fox 29's News Now. Be sure to catch us again tomorrow at the same time, 10 a.m., and follow us at fox29.com, as well as our mobile app and across social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And thank you for joining us this morning.